California's implosion is about to stun the world. Now, we know there's lots of things that California is known for more and more these days. They are leading the nation in poop on the sidewalks. Their crime rates are skyrocketing. Homelessness and drug use is just out of this world. All along the West Coast, we're seeing these kinds of things. But that's not what I'm going to be talking about here. We have something new that's developing and has been over the last couple months, and it's accelerating on the West Coast, particularly in California. We're seeing the effects there first, and it is going to truly devastate the U.S. economy. A lot of the U.S. economy, GDP numbers come from West Coast. A lot of the hopes and dreams of bureaucracies everywhere hinge on things working well in California, and they're starting to not be. So there have been some great saving graces for California. They've got their weather out there, but really when it comes down to it, California, Oregon, and Washington State are tech hubs. We've been exporting our tech services to the entire world, and that is really starting to change. We're going to dive into that and how it's going to impact the economy, both in California and Washington and Oregon, as well as how it's going to impact the U.S. economy at large. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and we look at this channel on things that the mainstream media doesn't want to cover, doesn't deem to be important, and they want to keep telling you how everything is sunshine and roses when everything is not. So we try to look at the actual information. If you like that type of coverage, please do hit the thumbs up button and help get this out to more people. Also, let us know what you think about California down in the comments section down below. If you're there, we're sorry. Hopefully you are in a safer place and you don't have feces on your shoes, or at least make sure that they're animal feces. All right, so California is tech. I mean, that's really what's been saving California. While the rest of their economy is not doing so great, they have all these really high-paying tech jobs that are a part of companies that are getting their revenue from around the world. So they have places like Intel. They got headquarters of Google. They got headquarters of, up until recently, even Twitter, right? Amazon's based out of Seattle. We have all these big tech companies, and their services are being used worldwide, and so all that money is funneling into hiring extremely high-paid employees working at these tech hubs. But we're noticing a few things. One is that tech companies are firing people by the tens of thousands, and they have been over the past number of months. And this is really hitting hard to California as well as Washington and Oregon. The highest paid people in the states are tech employees, and these people are losing their jobs. If you throw on top of that this whole work from home thing, we see a lot of these people starting to move away. If they're not required to be in San Francisco, if they're not required to be in Los Angeles, they're moving to red states. They're moving at least out of the heavily dark blue states because they don't like the government. Let's look at some of the numbers here. So this is so bad. This is so bad that the state of California had to update their budget assessment. They said back in January that they're going to be $22 billion short. They're going to spend $22 billion more than what they're going to take in, right? Well, they updated it just last week to $32 billion short. How did they lose $10 billion in a couple months? Well, they did it because about 50% of California's revenues that go to the state government come from 1% of taxpayers. 1% of taxpayers in California pay 50% of the income taxes. That's a big drop. And especially when you look at the tens of thousands of people being laid off are in this 1%. A lot of them are in the 1%. And this is having a trickle-down effect all those people that are earning hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to sit there and cancel people online, what else do they do, right? They are, when they get that money, they spend it. They hire housekeepers, they spend money at restaurants and all that kind of stuff like that. And these people suddenly don't have that money anymore, so they're not spending that money, which means people downstream of the economy are losing their jobs. A lot of people are losing their jobs. This is why California has the second highest unemployment rate now in the US. I know, it's surprising. Now, unemployment doesn't count people who aren't looking for work. So all the homeless people in encampments outside in Nancy Pelosi's district out there, just sitting in tents and not doing anything and not planning on doing anything, they're not counted. We're talking about people who have either recently lost their jobs and are actively hunting, people who haven't fallen out of the workforce. And we see that. All these people have lost their jobs. They're looking for work, but they can't find work. 4.5%. In California. Now, just to give you a comparison, the national average is at 3.4%. Now, those numbers are all bogus. We all know that. When we talk about people who aren't working or people who don't have jobs that really should have jobs, it's way higher than these percentages. But the fact is that when you have one state, California, that is a 50% higher unemployment rate, even by government numbers, than the rest of the country, there's something going on there. And it's not just California. Washington State is third highest. It's tied for third highest unemployment rate in the country. California and Washington. And then Oregon is pretty close behind too. I mean, they're at like 4%. They're up significantly over the national average. And we see this straight down the coast of the West Coast. The unemployment rate. And remember, we're not talking about lower level, jobs that we're losing here. We're losing jobs that make $150,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year. These people that have been sitting in cozy offices, getting like brunches put together down in the cafe for free, and then they go up and have a meeting about which accounts they're supposed to ban and censor and shadow ban and all that kind of stuff like that. These tech companies are, and Elon Musk actually started the trend. He's just like, we can run this company with half these people gone. And he just fired half the company, and it's amazing. Twitter still works, right? They don't have to have all these people who have meetings endlessly about, who to cancel. And so these other tech companies are like, well, maybe we don't need quite so many people either who are just sitting around and mooching off the company. So this is economic activity that's disappearing. They weren't really doing anything in the first place, but all that money was pouring out into the local economies. And that's going away. So that's going to be impacting the nation. So Intel, just for an example, Intel just canceled a $700 million expansion to their production facilities in California. And they cut wages. So not only do they not bring on all these new jobs and all this new manufacturing of silicon chips and processors and stuff, but they also cut wages. And just the wage cuts themselves means that California will lose about $200 million a year in less wages. And of course, California is going to take 10% of that or something like that. That kind of explains, that's a $20 million cut right there. Just Intel in state taxes that have gone missing, right? And that just kind of explains what we're seeing across the tech industry. Projects are being canceled, and all this is going to impact the fake numbers coming out of the federal government, fake numbers coming out about the economy, because these tech companies are, really what's holding up the market. When we look at most companies out there, their revenues are dropping. It's the tech companies, and tech companies, They may at first seem like they're immune to the pullbacks in the economy, but they're not, because most of these tech companies' revenues come from advertising. And when real companies that make products and sell products, when they start losing money, they're going to cut back on advertising. And these tech companies are going to feel the heat sooner or later. And I think that we're already starting to see some of these advertising pullbacks happening already. This is going to have big knock-on effects to the global economy. California is a big portion of what's going on around the world. So are there going to be more of these tech people on the streets joining the homeless population? Probably not. They'll probably find jobs elsewhere doing something for less money. But if they can code, or if they are in with the social justice warrior movement, I'm sure they'll land somewhere on their feet. But hopefully they do stay in a blue state away from the rest of us. It's sort of like rabies, you know, we don't want them biting us. Anyway, so that's kind of what I got for you folks. It's going to be big as it's imploding. The housing market is imploding because of that. It's going to impact the bond markets and the mortgages, mortgage bonds and all that kind of stuff. It's just going to roll right on through the economy. It is a big deal. All right, folks, thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video from me, there's another one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.